Live. I'm just gonna pull up my chair next to you.
Okay. You got it running? Ooh, okay. You gonna do an interview thing? Let's do it.
All right. How does it look, Herman? Can you see both of us? All right. So we're back live, and I'm here with world famous George Bazzetti, and we're gonna talk to you guys about the court order that was issued by Judge O'Carter regarding the Alliance versus City of Los Angeles on the case of homelessness fraud and what actually took place for this month. Now, George, I think it's fair to say a lot of people were expecting just outright some sort of receivership to go through, but what they don't understand is if that was taken and that decision was in fact not what was taken, if that decision was made where receivership was simply granted, an appeal would have been the next subsequent step.
Yeah.
And an appeal would have just caused everything to what? Drag on and
Go on for 5 years and they've been able to do whatever they want. So my initial reaction in Wayne's was we were mad, okay? But then I started reading the 62-page opinion on the bus. And I speed read, so I got through maybe a third of this. And everybody should remember that case in Oregon that the Supreme Court decided on homelessness. Now, Judge Carter is one of the most brilliant judges I've ever run in my entire life, and I've been in court a lot. This guy is brilliant. He's not a sociopath. He really cares and has proven through his life about other people by the way he handles everything. And we've already watched because Herman, Wayne, Enri, and I, other than the lawyers and the homeless people the judge invited to be in court, were the only ones that spent time in that court. And the four of us spent our time sitting with the homeless, right, Enri?
absolutely.
And what did we do? We empowered them. We educated them on the court procedure what's going on. We prevented them from taking pictures so that they would not get arrested. In fact, Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher stopped the court because the lady I was sitting next to, he said, she's taking selfies. And they stopped the court and had the marshal come over. And I said, sir, I've stopped two of them. Please look at her phone so they wouldn't get arrested. She's merely taking notes. And he looked and he said, okay, thanks. Because unlike everywhere else you go in the court system, and these federal courts here anyway, I don't know about the rest of them, but these marshals are so gracious and nice. Now, if you start some stuff going on, dude, you're going to have some bad times. But they do not come at you with an attitude. You didn't notice that, did you, Henri?
No, they were actually very sweet. I gotta say, they were very hospitable. They were very professional, and on that day, they took care of it exactly like you would expect a trained professional to. They didn't make a scene. The judge also did not overreact to the lawyer from Gibson, Dunn and Crutch, the guy that I call the Xenu lawyer because he literally looks like Xenu, and he just Carter.
Explain who's Xenu.
So if you guys don't know by now, Xenu is the galactic overlord in the whole crazy conspiracy that is the cult of Scientology. And of course, right, in a case involving homeless fraud, of course the city of Los Angeles hires a lead counsel that literally 100% looks like the Xenu character from the Scientology cult lore. And this guy tried to make it seem like what this woman was doing was so outlandish, so egregious, but Carter handled it like a true professional. Within mere minutes, the whole matter was over. Nobody was butthurt.
Totally professionally done.
Nobody got dragged out of the court. Nobody got beat up.
Attitudes.
Yep. No yelling. No profanities. No upset. It was
Question and answer. Simple, straight. If you remember Jack Webb, just the facts, man, just the facts. Now, I want to give you a little interesting stuff on L. Ron Hubbard that almost no one knows. My former best friend, Richard Arthur, was L. Ron Hubbard's best friend from the time the Scientologists don't know. In the Navy, he roomed with them and was the only person that would listen to him before he wrote his books. So guess what I know about L. Ron Hubbard, you stupid fucks? Huh? But to tell you the truth, it's just another faith. And please go look up, all you Christians and other religious types, what the word faith is that you use for what you are. Please go look it up in your unabridged dictionary like I have at home, because I got the unabridged, the college, and the blacks in case you want to go to law. And faith says this. It's a belief in something nobody can prove, so anybody can make up any bullshit they want and just call it a religion. What the fuck?
Like a galactic overlord that
Or
rules.
Jesus, and Yahweh for you Jewish people, who used to be the chief god of Baal before there were any of you fools. And there was no Jews of the Jewish religion before they got took to Babylon. And guess who you were influenced by? Zoroaster. So everybody needs to take that stuff, because you might get pissed off at me, but as far as I'm concerned, these older ones, these people like to get fucked up back then, people.
Well,
They knew what every plant and drug, and they got wasted on booze. So, when you're like taking psychedelics or something, and you see the stars dancing around and the trees turning into nights fighting each other, what do you think those guys were seeing, like Muhammad up in his cave flying over Jerusalem? I mean, come on now, So
Here,
take it all with a grain of salt. None of you really know anything.
here to get back to the court stuff. So
Okay, let's go back to the court stuff now that we went through the
yeah,
craziness of religion.
I mean, but the fact of the matter is,
Scientology and how they're all the same.
yeah, this dude literally looks like Zeno. I've shown his face several times, but anyway, these morons did not get a receivership, and that's a good thing. The reason why that's a good thing is because the order that Carter issued is the following: minimum, if I remember correctly, for the next 5 years,
Yeah.
city is to report directly not only to the judge but to the court, which is to provide explicit public records on a quarterly basis explaining exactly what it is that they are doing and have done to take steps to meet not only the agreement, which is the alliance agreement, but also overall on alleviating homelessness in the city of Los Angeles beyond just what is this alliance v. City of Los Angeles.
Also, the special master that's appointed to deal with this is in real time, before doing the report to the judge quarterly, to be giving everything in real time what's going on, so the judge is aware. So let's go back to what we started with. At first we were kind of mad that he did this, but then when you start looking at the case law that he is basing on, first he has to deal with Supreme Court decisions. He's a rule of law, all equal before the law kind of guy, okay? It is what it is. And that's what he's going to deal with, because if you don't want to be appealed out, you have to be very strict. It doesn't matter what you think you want. That isn't how the law works. The law works as what it is, and Supreme Court decisions, and before it gets to the Supreme Court, and the case law decisions and the district courts, okay, these rule. But once the Supreme Court rules, that's it. So in the Oregon case, he ruled that basically the cities can't be overtaken by the courts. So this judge, in his wisdom, because we already watched, we were there while the city tried to maneuver the judge into going over the time limit so they could get him out of the case, and he instantly recognized it and he aced. In fact, the fact that he put it out on the 24th, that was yesterday, okay? 6 days ahead of time shows that he was really prepared and wasn't going to give anybody any room to play any more games. And because he has the historical knowledge and the heart, he's the one who invited these homeless people in that we sat with. He asked them to come. Now, he didn't know that we would be there, because by the time that the four of us got done with these homeless people, I had printed up the books that the judge, the alliance lawyers, the city attorney, and Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher had never seen, which were, guess what? The 5-year homeless plan. They didn't even know. I showed it to the alliance attorney. I said, have you ever seen this? No. Read this paragraph. His eyes popped out of his head.
Well, not just any homeless program. It was very specific. It was a budget five-year term plan, right?
Right. It was the 5-year homeless plan, right, and also the 1-year plan. So I turned on my laser printer, and I burned through a full laser cartridge and a couple of reams of paper, printing shit out for the homeless people.
And they were reading it. They understood.
And I want you to tell the public how well you saw even the worst looking homeless people. The minute they read this, what did you see them realize?
They could immediately pick up on context. So the numbers they were looking for was not for numbers that were listed on the papers, not just on raw counts of units, not just on anything of the sort, but they were looking at definitions of a unit. They were looking on definitions of what constitutes a bed. They were looking at very particular things that otherwise would not be.
We wouldn't recognize because we're not homeless, but they've lived this and they have all the experiences, all the people they live around. So it's like when Celeste King IV told me, George, you really need to spend some time in jail so you know what you're dealing with. And at first I went, oh, Celeste. Well, I've been the oldest person in the Twin Towers twice at 67 and 72. I'm protected by the gangsters, so they talk to me, okay? And what happens is, when you get it direct from that source in that place, you get an understanding you can't get any other way unless you're one of them. And even then they're not going to talk to you unless they respect you because you did good in their community and they know it, because otherwise you're not, especially as a white guy, you're not trustworthy, baby.
Let's take a look at page 8 and 9, because that's specifically where
we'll read this. Now we're going to go through and we're going to give you a little bit of a taste.
Yeah, that's specifically where Judge Carter outlines exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, first let's go to this. In 2021, the court warned that it could not idly bear witness to preventable deaths. That warning still echoes, but it must now be read alongside the Supreme Court's caution in the city of Grants Pass, Oregon versus Johnson, that federal courts cannot substitute their judgment for the democratic skill of a community grappling with complex and deeply human questions. As the court recognized, homelessness is complex, its causes are many, and so too must be its solutions, okay? So this is the leading to why in the beginning we weren't very happy with Judge Carter, but once I read that I went, ding, I see where the man's going. Now let's go to the fun part. The agreement also provides that funding of housing and shelter opportunities created by the city shall be at the city's sole discretion. An agreement provides an emergency term stating, in the event of fires, floods, earthquakes, epidemics, quarantine restrictions, or other natural catastrophic occurrences, terrorist acts, insurrections, or other large-scale civil disturbances, or any local or fiscal, or any local or fiscal emergency declared by the mayor of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles City Council under the authority vested in them by the Los Angeles City Charter and the Los Angeles Administrative Code, or other applicable ordinances, resolutions, or laws, the obligations of the city as set forth in sections 3, 4, and 5 of this agreement shall be paused and the parties agreed to meet and confer on any necessary and appropriate amendments to those obligations. Well, guess what the damn city just did? They
It,
declared a fiscal emergency.
Based on that decision?
So what's happening is these people are moving as fast as they can to try to get away from any responsibility, and they are so pissed at us because we're not letting them out of it.
and the reason for the issuance of this order is you have to remember the only other alternative is this would have gone to administrative work. That's
Appeals court.
not just the appeals court, but these reports that otherwise would still maybe have been quarterly would never have gone to see the light of day in the public sphere.
They have been locked up in appeals court, and that takes years. So Judge Carter has stated that long before this, has stated, I'm going to keep control of this case. He has the historical perspective and the proper attitude. So you have to be realist and realize that he has to deal as a federal judge with the Supreme Court decisions, the city charter, which isn't the original one as these fools were talking about, because the charter was changed in 2003, which included section 271, which says that misdemeanors committed inside the boundary of the city of LA can only be prosecuted by the city attorney, not the DA. Now, the DA, I've had 9 DAs in just my first case, and in the jail and outside, every person I've talked to has said that with their misdemeanors, they were prosecuted by the DA also. And then on top of that, I was taken to trial against the law by the same judge who demanded the exculpatory evidence, didn't give a shit about the law or any other judge in 10 years. Illegal to take you to trial without the exculpatory evidence. Do they give a shit? No. They just do whatever they want. I got a letter from the Attorney General of the state of California, and guess what it says? It's not my job to do the job that the California Constitution states is his primary job. Now, we're getting blatant here. We got this out of the DA, out of the city attorney. In fact, the city attorney, in the last meeting we're at in the agenda, stated on they're using things called conduit bonds because they've blown all of the HH bond money, that $2 billion plus, out the door. It's gone. Just fucked it up. So they're writing what is called a conduit bond. Now, the state of California has a 500-page manual on every means of financing and every up and down and every single thing on it. When you read conduit bonds, what they are a bond written by the city, guaranteed by the taxpayers without a vote, then loaned to developers and contractors. Loaned! But guess what it says that the city attorney lied about? If that contractor or developer happens to go into bankruptcy because it's loaned and the primary responsible party is the city who wrote it and then just loaned it, how is a city attorney with a bar license stating that they got no obligations when the state says the obligation becomes the taxpayers in the cities? So you got to question everything these guys do when they can't get anything right. And how do they get away with it? Because most people, they don't know, they don't have the time, they don't have the background. And when people like us spend the time, they get really pissed off. Like the last 2 meetings, they've made sure that I can't speak. And why? Because they've taken away my health care. I need a kidney removed. They refused to treat a serious staph infection for 6 years. It's still not gone. They gave me low blood platelets. A month ago, I almost had to be transfused. I got a call at 6:30 at night from a doctor saying, I better get to the damn emergency room right now. When they saw what my blood platelets were, you never seen doctors jump so damn fast in your life. They had me set up for transfusion. All caused by these people. And today, we had Eunices, this fat piece of trash. I don't care if she's fat, but when she has this attitude, I'm going to use it. Because she's going to die from a heart attack and sugar diabetes, sure as hell. I don't care about that, except when I brought this up to her in the hall, that fat wench started laughing at me that I was going to die because of her. Now, I want you to take into consideration what we've been talking about. Now we're talking about a person's life. And legally, because it's for political reasons, it's assassination. Right now, it's attempted assassination. But if I don't get this care and I'm running out of medication, I haven't had any of these sugar meds for 3 months, I'm almost out of everything else, but I'm not going to stop. I don't give a shit if I die there speaking, because they're not going to stop me, and they're not going to continue to get away with this shit.
So on the
Such as this,
on the
what
order,
we're talking about,
yeah,
that covers a lot of people. It's a national responsibility for at least 1 million homeless.
well, the most important part is that really the order itself specifically states that he doesn't want to give any sort of impropriety to make it seem like he has control over the city. The order was very right, and that's why he did that. The order is very specific
and to
in
maintain, the most important thing is that what he did keeps the monitoring and the special master in place even tighter than they were before.
quarterly.
There's no lapse in monitoring. It's tightening up. So even though we really wanted a receiver, we're getting a receiver, only it's a different way that they can't figure out because it's too late.
And the most important part, I think, of all is that it's not going to a different judge. It's not going to any different staffers. It's the same people that bring in the historical knowledge.
All the historical knowledge.
And probably the best part, that they're people that care, unlike others who otherwise.
He can put him in court. He can put him in jail for contempt.
At the bare minimum, yes, bare minimum. And so that's really the
He's
whole.
got the hammer on.
That's really the whole crux of the order. Yes.
And what is most important? You get your ego satisfied with the receiver, or that this issue is handled now to save lives. Dude, was it not brought up in court? And in this thing, while we were in court, 70 homeless just on Skid Row died at 7 per day. This is outrageous. And the deaths, I didn't know this before, the deaths by freeways are outrageous. Getting hit by cars and every other thing. He's declared you got to get these people 500 feet away from the freeways to protect their lives. They're dying 20 years earlier. The stats in here that I just read them once, but we're going to put together a chart of what it all means, so we can have a quickie on it.
And it's a minimum of 5 years that they have to abide by this constant reporting.
By then.
And even if it's not, the fact of the matter is there's leeway after the fact to continue the process. There's nowhere in there that's.
Judge Carter isn't going to let this go for forever. If they don't have this shit started by November 14th, this dude ain't going to give him a break. He's done with that. Because what we haven't told you so far, and that we witnessed for 2 days, was a city attorney getting up and completely dissing Judge Carter, the special master that they approved, and then just like Trump and his idiots, they came down with the same language and same demeanor as Trump and his fools did on the federal courts, and they declared this so-called Democratic city attorney, and city council said all federal judges are stupid fools. Their special masters are stupid fools. The federal courts have no right to tell us shit to do. What? These are Democrats?
Well,
This
that
is why we gotta put them in jail and have them knocked out. Because until these Democrats stop being a bunch of lying sacks of crap and acting like Trump, they ain't gonna get elected to nothing.
well that part was literal. Well,
They did it for
well,
real.
they literally
For 2 days.
literally the closing argument was that you neither the judge nor anybody else has any authority nor right to ever dare not even say but dare
Not even to dare.
right
even
not even to
try.
dare tell the city what to do or
How
even
dare you even try?
or how dare you ever even conceive of the thought or notion.
That you had any right to do that.
So that's what we're looking at. Even though we didn't get the receivership, we did it in a roundabout way that can't be
They
appealed.
got sucked out on this. These people are so arrogant and mentally, sociopathically, psychopathically sick in the fucking head that even the stupidest gangster knows you don't diss the judge in your friggin' case, much less the entire federal court system. These guys, these federal judges, unlike these superior court judges, you ever notice they don't retire, man?
No, they
This
don't.
dude's 81 years old.
And still kicking.
Yeah, and sharp.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna end it.
He's got a photo memory, doesn't he, dude?
Yes. All right, we're gonna end it there. I'll see you guys after the Housing and Homelessness Committee. Peace out.
Oh, we'll have more for you for sure. Got plenty more. That was pretty good, Andre. We did really good at that.